So the next candidate we're going to talk about is Lynne Homrich. And I've got a little bit of an interesting story where I met Lynne at a GOP event. And I asked her what she would do as a member of Congress to protect the unborn. And she responded by saying, "Oh, so pro-life issues are very important to you. Well, I have 4 children and one of them is adopted. I live my pro-life values every day." And I was thinking to myself, well, that's not what I asked you. So I pushed her a little harder. Okay, but what are you going to do as a member of Congress to protect the unborn? And she's like, well, first thing we need to do is go through the courts and overturn Roe v. Wade. And I was like, no, you don't. Okay, under the 5th and 14th Amendment, you can protect life by passing legislation. Secondly, you can impeach any justice that tries to violate that legislation. And she replies to me, you can impeach Supreme Court justices? And I told her, you're running for Congress and you don't know that? And she essentially gets to the point where she says, well, you're an ideas guy. I'm a business person and not a policy person. And that's why we'll have members of my staff to help me with policy issues. Well, people aren't voting for your staff to come up with policies. They're voting for you to represent them in the federal legislature, not your staff. So that's just an interesting thing. Like I was saying, she doesn't know the Constitution to begin with. But we'll see that as we explore her website. So we'll start here with meet Lynne Homrich. Lynne Homrich is a businesswoman, nonprofit executive, and mother of 4 who has lived in the Atlanta area for the last 3 decades. A biochemist by degree, Ms. Homrich is a former vice president of human resources for Home Depot, where she started as a manager in IT and ultimately oversaw successful planning, executives, assimilation, and talent development for the entire company. After leaving Home Depot, Homrich started several small businesses and a non-profit to encourage young women and girls to base their value and worth not on body or looks, but on what matters most: strength, character, and achievement. Lynne believes the Republican Party needs more women to run for office, and she is called to lead by example. This country and the Atlanta area have provided incredible opportunities for Lynne and her family, and she wants to ensure everyone has the same opportunities for success. Lynne will fight to protect the values and principles that have made this country the greatest in the world and bring the perspective of an outsider, a businesswoman, and a mom to solve problems and get things done where the career politicians have failed. A graduate of Purdue University, Lynne Homrich grew up in a middle-class family in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Lynne and her husband David have spent the past 30 years in Atlanta raising a family, including 3 sons and a daughter. Okay, so we'll move on to the issues and talk about them as we go. Changing Washington, where the career politicians have failed. As a successful businesswoman and mom of 4, Lynne has the real-world experience to get things done. Jobs and opportunity. We need more people with business experience in government. I was an executive at Home Depot, and I have run a successful small business. I know how to create jobs, and I want to take this experience to Washington. Thanks to President Trump, we've come a long way in the past few years, and the economy is booming. In Congress, I will fight to make sure the federal government is staying out of the way and that Atlanta's economy can grow. Families can climb the economic ladder, and young people have economic opportunities. So, first thing is, she says that she knows how to create jobs, and wants to take that experience to Washington. Washington doesn't create jobs. Now, at least she got it right in the second part, that getting the federal government out of the way. That is important for the economy, because really, the economy doesn't grow based on government action. It grows based on innovators and entrepreneurs and government stepping out and letting them do their thing. So yeah, we'll move on to the next. Healthcare. We need real healthcare reform that will reduce premiums and make sure that everyone has access to affordable and high-quality care, including requiring insurance companies to cover everyone with pre-existing conditions. I believe patients and families should be in charge of their health care. Washington liberals want to put the government in charge of their health care with their extreme Medicare for all schemes. Okay, so she wants to cover all pre-existing conditions. Require insurance companies to cover everyone with pre-existing conditions. That's not an insurance plan. Insurance is about risk and reward. The insurance company takes a risk, hoping that you won't, they're betting that you won't get sick or need medical care as much as you are paying them. And you, as a consumer buying health insurance, are taking a gamble that you will need it more than the amount that you're spending into it. By doing so, you turn the healthcare insurance industry into no longer a healthcare insurance industry. I don't know what you turned it into. But that's Obamacare, right there. It may not be Medicare for all, but it's Obamacare. That was one of the key points to Obamacare. Oh, it sounds great, so people love it, but it's not great. It actually hurts the insurance industry and ultimately hurts the cost of healthcare, makes it go up. But the other thing is, at least Mr. Gonslaves told us ways in which you could reduce the cost of healthcare. She doesn't even give that. She says that we need real reform, but there's no solution whatsoever. Okay, next thing is education. As a mom, education is a critical issue for me. I want to make sure every child receives a quality education and make sure our kids are prepared for tomorrow's jobs in the technological and global economy. We need to remove power from Washington bureaucrats and return it to our schools, parents, and local school districts. Additionally, we need to provide vocational training opportunities for students. A four-year college isn't for everyone, and we need to make a career as a tradesperson as respected as the career of a college graduate. We need to raise teacher pay to attract the best and brightest to become educators in our schools. Finally, we need to reduce the cost of education so young Americans can graduate without crippling student debt. Okay, so other than getting the federal government out, none of this has to do with what Congress should be doing. Congress shouldn't be messing with education whatsoever. But beyond that, while she's talking about how ways to improve the education field, she doesn't talk about creating a free market-based education, which is how you actually raise teacher wages and at the same time improve the schools themselves and the education itself. And she doesn't talk about one of the most important things of education. Education is not designed to create better career and job opportunities. Education is designed, first and foremost, to teach religion, morality, and knowledge. The most important thing here is that the Bible needs to be at the forefront of the classroom. She doesn't mention that. Education has done nothing but plummet since the Bible has been removed, and there's not even a conversation on it, even though she's talking about other ways that government could begin to meddle in education. Let's go. Transportation infrastructure. Traffic is a major issue that impacts our quality of life. In Congress, I will work to secure funding for vital transportation and infrastructure projects to ease congestion without raising taxes. Where's the power to do that in the Constitution? It's not. A member of Congress should not be sending funding for local transportation needs or state transportation needs for that matter. That's up to the state. It shouldn't have anything to do with federal tax dollars whatsoever. Without raising taxes, you're still spending taxes, and you're spending them, if you're spending it on transportation in a state and local area, then you're violating the Constitution, and that's a clear violation of the oath. So let's go. National defense. As a conservative, I firmly believe that keeping America safe is our government's top priority. Part of defending our values is defending our country. I am committed to making sure that our men and women in uniform have all the tools and resources they need to do their job as safely as possible. We have more active duty soldiers in Georgia than almost any other state, with more than 27,000 men and women at Fort Benning alone. I believe that we need to increase military spending to deal with the continued threat of radical Islamic terrorism and new and resurgent threat posed by Russia and China. Our strength and our resolve in dealing with these threats is a powerful force for global stability. I don't really have too much of a problem with what she said here, except do we necessarily need to increase military spending? As long as we keep military spending to where it's sufficient to defend us, we don't necessarily need to keep increasing that budget every single year. Stopping illegal immigration. Our immigration system is broken, and it is clear that the career politicians cannot fix it. This is why we need a political outsider to represent us in Washington. We need to secure our border and build the wall. Immigrants are our neighbors and friends, and they are an asset to our community. There is a big difference, however, between legal immigration, which I support, and illegal immigration, which I strongly oppose. Illegal immigration is not just a problem. It is an issue of national security, and it's resulting in a humanitarian crisis on our southern border. We are a generous country, but we also believe in the rule of law, protecting American workers and putting America first. So she doesn't say how she's going to do anything to secure the border, but I guess she's just telling you her opinion on the issue, where she stands on it. So there you go. Protecting life. I am proudly pro-life. As a mother of 4, including an adopted child, I believe that every life is precious and deserves our protection. I will work to advance common sense protection for women and their unborn children, including preventing late-term abortions and stopping taxpayers from having to pay for abortions. So just like Mr. Gonslaves, preventing late-term abortions is the key. Why not preventing all abortions? That's the question. And she doesn't even know constitutionally how she can do this, which is a problem. Finally, protecting the Second Amendment. I will defend the Second Amendment. Law-abiding Georgians who want to own firearms for self-defense or hunting should be allowed to do so, and it's our constitutional right. We can address mental health, the failing federal background check system, and school safety while protecting the rights of law-abiding gun owners. Okay, not too much to say there, except federal background check system is an interesting thing. Does the federal government even have the right or authority or enumerated power to implement background checks for firearm ownership, considering we have an inalienable right to self-preservation and self-defense? One could argue that they don't. So this has been Lynne Homrich and her positions, and where I see certain flaws. Obviously, you can see she doesn't go into the issues as much as Mr. Gonslaves did. She just puts a short little paragraph or two, and that's it. And next person we're going to talk about is going to be Dr. Rich McCormick. And I'll end the video here.